Do you find it more difficult to not talk over someone like someone you're next to, your partner, your analyst, or
Mhm.
someone like a producer or director in your ear talking to you?
Well, especially when I do the zone fights, I work with Sergio Mora a lot. He's kind of my guy, and we've got a relationship now. If I want him to shut up, I'll just reach over and squeeze his arm, Or if I feel something big coming, I'll just like your mom when she hits the brakes in the car and puts her arm over your chest to protect you. I'll do that. But he knows, fighters when they watch back their fights, they like good knockout calls. They don't want to hear screaming and they don't, they want those, and producers want it so they can put the package together to sell the next fight. If you notice Canelo's next fight, which is Saturday, if you watch the pieces that DAZN puts together, there's a lot of use of the announcer where he's like, Canelo's in trouble, Canelo's against the ropes, he goes down, whatever it is. So the cleaner the audio, the better it is for everybody.
Oh, yeah. How often is, a producer or director in your ear kind of like setting you up for certain things, kind of like being that, like the back of your head, like, all right, this is coming up. Let's make sure we hit this, this, and this, especially for like big calls like that, like when maybe you don't see something and they're able to kind of paint the picture for you.
They rarely get in my ear as far as what's happening in the ring, unless they want to say, hey, remember at the fighter meeting yesterday, he said in the 8th round he was going to do that. They might give you a little buzzword like that. But for the most part, the only time I hear from a producer is counts in and out of breaks. And then let's say the fight ends and we're talking like recapping. They'll be, hey, Todd, after this, we're going to toss to the tail of the tape for the next fight. And then we're going to do that. So they're more of like a traffic cop. And I just take their direction. But as far as in the fight itself, I don't get much direction.
That sounds awesome. I mean, I'm sure in WWE commentary.
Now, WWE's a completely different story.
I was gonna say, like, they say that Vince is constantly in people's ears. It's like you don't want to commentate in WWE.
Oh, he's in everybody. He has or used to. I haven't been there in probably I don't know, 5 or 6 years, 8 years maybe even. The referee has an earpiece. I've got an earpiece. The guy who rings the bell has an earpiece. Camera. He'd do everyone's job if he could. He's that kind of micromanager, and he'd talk to you throughout the fight. He'd tell you exactly what to say. And if you didn't say it verbatim, if he said, this guy may be the greatest to come out of Haralson County, Georgia. If I said, this guy may be the greatest ever to come out of Haralson County. You didn't fucking say Georgia. God damn it. That's not what I fucking said. While you're still calling the match. Hey, well, clothesline. While this guy is just completely undressing you. You're the worst commentator ever fucking hired.
He started out as a commentator too. He knows what that's like, someone being in your ear constantly. And you're right. Like if he could do it, if he could be or like morph himself into 80 different bodies, he would do everything.
Oh
like, I'm sure, I mean, you worked for him. He's a total workaholic, right?
The good thing is though, he likes to be in every piece of the business. So by the time he screamed at me 20 minutes ago and I see him in the back, he's completely moved on. To me, it's like life-shattering. I mean, I'm abused for life. Wow. He's broken me down, and I'm like, "Hey, Vince, how's the show?" Oh, okay, moves on. I'm like, all right.
What was one specific instance where you were on the mic and he was saying something so distracting that you were like, "Holy crap! Like, is this really happening right now?"
Well, there was this wrestler named John Morrison.
Yeah.
Who at the time his gimmick was kind of like LA guy, floats through life. Parkour training, that kind of surfer dude. And they loved to integrate the WWE magazine at the time. So any stories they write in there, he would love it if you said, hey, in the latest WWE magazine, John Morrison talks about blah, 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 blah. Well, in the WWE magazine, he talked about how he loved poetry. And in fact, his finishing move, which was Starship Pain, he wrote a poem about Starship Pain. So in the middle of the match, he does something, and I say, hey, John Morrison, in the latest edition of WWE Magazine, wrote a nice poem and described where his blah, blah, blah. And Vince McMahon gets in my ear and goes, did you just fucking say that our number one heel writes fucking poetry? What the fuck is wrong with you? And I was working with JR, who's a legend. JR, start talking. Todd, shut. You're not allowed to fucking talk anymore. Shut up. So I just sit there. The match happens. I don't talk for like 8 minutes. JR says the whole thing. The match ends, and he goes, all right, you can talk again. Can you imagine Joe Buck calling the freaking World Series in the 4th inning? The producer says, don't talk until the 6th. That's what he told me, just because I said that John Morrison likes poetry.
Just because you did your homework, really?
Yeah, I did my homework. I did what he told me to do, and I got punished.
I mean, that's an experience, if anything else. Like, getting to say that you got to work in commentary in professional wrestling with, the evil genius in your ear all the time. It probably wasn't a blast, but at the same time, like, it was an experience.
Yeah, I would just get mentally abused once a week and go home, But I tell you this, to toot my own horn a little bit, I wasn't exactly the most popular announcer or the most memorable announcer, but I was there for 8 years, man. If you go back and look at some of these other guys that have called wrestling, it's other than like Michael Cole, like Taz, he lasted, 4 or 5 years. Josh Matthews, a couple of years. Mick Foley walked off. He couldn't handle it. None of these guys can handle the yelling. So it's like basically JR, Jerry the King Lawler, Michael Cole. And after that, I may have been on there the longest, man. I just stayed under the radar, popped up. Some of these guys want to get noticed and pitch ideas and do this, which can work for you as long as all your ideas are good. Then you become like a pain in everyone's backside. So I just stayed under the radar, did my job, got yelled at, went home, and I got paid well for about 8 years.
How many guys did you look for advice when doing that? Because, again, he's in your ear all the time. I mean, I'm sure JR or Jerry the King Lawler, Michael Cole, obviously still there, still taking it. What kind of advice did they give you, kind of like warming you up, saying like, all right, this is how it goes, be prepared for this? And did anybody tell you, like, maybe if you stand up to him, he'll respect you more? Like,
yes, I was told that many times.
Yeah.
But I never tried. It. Now, I would go, if there was a specific question I had, I would meet with him before the show and ask him specifically, hey, listen, when this guy comes out of the rafters and lands in the ring, am I supposed to act surprised? Am I supposed to know who this is? I would ask him those kind of questions. But other than that, man, I just learned there were buzzwords that he absolutely hated. You never called them belts. A belt was a physical thing. A title was a title. So he would have a title around his waist, not a belt. And those other little things like that. So if you avoided the landmines that you knew he would get upset about, you could do okay. So sometimes less is more. Like JR has some all-time great calls, but he got fired like 4 or 5 times.
Right.
So I knew, hey, I would only get fired once, and then I'm done. So I did the best that I could. Like I said, I was just trying to keep my job, keep him happy. The whole world could like you. And I'm talking about 3 billion people could say you're the greatest wrestling announcer ever. But if Vince McMahon thought you sucked, you're done.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you see that in today's product. I don't know how familiar you are with it. Like, there's a lot of popular guys among the fans, but, like, if Vince doesn't like you, you're not going to get pushed.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Well, just like wrestlers, same way, People are complaining about why is Roman Reigns Roman Reigns getting shoved down our throats? Why is John Cena getting shoved down our throats? Well, because Vince thinks it's a good business move. Yeah. And, hey, you can't argue with his success. So,
oh, yeah. I mean,
his way or the highway.
Oh, yeah. Like 90% of his ideas are awesome. It's the 10% that you're like, oh, my God. Like, were you around for some of those? Like, what is he thinking? Like, we have to go through with this?
Someone said this about Newt Gingrich, the politician. I think the same thing could be said about Vince McMahon. Like 95 out of 100 of his ideas would be fantastic. And the other 5 could destroy the earth as we know it. That's true. But, yeah.
Is it true that he doesn't like sneezing? That's like the biggest myth from Vince McMahon. It's
like germs, and you could not yawn around him either. Do not yawn.
Wow.
No sneezing, no yawning, he always had hand sanitizer, and now it'd be total normal. You walk by, you're like, hey, he's a responsible adult. He was doing that for decades. So I don't hold that against him.
I guess it's a sign of weakness to yawn and sneeze. I don't know. Like, you can't control that. Maybe that's
it. You can kind of control. I've learned how to yawn with my mouth shut. I'll just like, you can do it. But, it's just, to him, I would especially think the yawning is basically like, oh, really? I'm boring you? Did you come sitting here with me? Then go sit somewhere else.
Wow. So to kind of switch gears from that, I kind of wanted to pick your brain about, your origins of your broadcast career as an aspiring broadcaster. Because, again, like, you weren't one of those guys that, like, went to the Syracuses or the Northwesterns. You kind of had to, like, because again, me at GCU, like I'm in it for the reps. Like I'm not in it for the title of the school. I could have went to Cronkite, journalism school at ASU and competed
Right.
with 600 other guys, but I wouldn't be getting the reps.
Exactly.
When did you decide you wanted to become a broadcaster at a young age, and what was like your first inspiration in sports?
Well, when I was, I want to say like 8, 9 years old, I used to love listening to radio DJs. And I thought that was so cool. And I want to be that guy. And I bought this book called On the Air, which gave you advice on how to do it. And they had little voice exercises. I'd wake up in the morning and do all these voice exercises to deepen my voice and strengthen it. And that's all I wanted to do. And sports kind of came later. I mean, I like sports, but I just wanted to be in broadcasting. And then I got my first radio job at WCKS, Carrollton's Kiss 102.7, where we always give you a perfect mix of music from the 80s, 90s, and today. No hard rock, no rap. But I did that, and then on Friday nights, they had the high school football game of the week, and I would play the commercials, during the breaks. And I listened to the guys calling the games, and high school football is huge in Georgia. I was like, man, these guys, I'm better than these guys. I could do it better. So I talked to the boss, said, well, maybe next season. Sure enough, they let me do it the next season, started calling football. I got pretty good at it. And then when I graduated school, I loved soccer. I was a soccer player, played in college, and I wanted to call the World Cup. I want to be a soccer announcer. Sent some emails to some guys, and they said the best thing you could do is just get your foot in the door anywhere. So okay, so I started as small as you could go. I got my first television sports job in Ottumwa, Iowa, which is my market 200 out of 212. It's like, cows are listening. Then I moved to the next biggest market, came to Tucson down near you. You're in Phoenix. I was in Tucson for 5 years. And then I got my big break at WWE when I was 27, and it all took off from there.
Well, I mean, I'm sure WWE, I'm sure you grew up a wrestling fan if you were interested in it, but it probably wasn't your first choice. Like you were probably thinking in the back of your head, like, wow, this was going to be my first big break.
It was weird because I used to do all these fun Friday night football sketches when I was in Tucson with the guy I worked with. And we had real fun and joking, and that was my thing. I'm like, I just don't want to be boring. I just want to be, whatever. People would think I suck, but at least I'm not boring. The other guys in Tucson were in their 50s, and they were like, today the Arizona Wildcats faced the Arizona State. No, I was like, but someone saw me and referred me to some agent guy who called me and said, listen, WWE has an opening. Would you want to work there? Would you be interested? I'm like, send my tape in, because at that time you had to put your stuff on VHS tapes. I must have sent out 200 of those. I'm not kidding. Every week I'd send it to Los Angeles or Minneapolis, wherever, to get a bigger job. And then 6 months later, someone calling from WWE, I didn't even remember sending my stuff in, and they said, hey, it was Friday. They said, can you be in New York City on Monday to do an audition? 3 days later, I'm like, sure. They flew me up there, and they were impressed because I studied my ass off because I hadn't watched it in 3 years.
Right.
So I printed out a binder of every single wrestler on the roster, just their one-page bio that was on the website. So because I knew I was going to call matches, so they said, all right, you're going to call Hardcore Holly versus Shane Hurricane.
Right.
Okay. So I pulled out Hardcore Holly's thing, pulled out Hurricane's thing, set it down. And the woman was just flabbergasted. She couldn't believe it.